I'd like to start by inviting Mr. Prasad Pimple, Executive Vice President and Head of Digital Business Unit, Kotak Life. Thank you so much for joining. Round of applause. Next on the panel, we have Ms. Uden, Bhutia, Vice President, Brand and Product Marketing, Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Round of applause. Now the session will be moderated by Mr. Satrajit, Chief Operating Officer at Events at afaqs. Thank you, Mr. Sain, for joining us. Mr. Sain, I request you to please begin the session.
Hi, it's really tough to do the last session of the day because we are literally standing in between you and the final refreshments. But anyways, first of all, so thank you, Prasad. I know you have a tight schedule, but thank you for agreeing to do it with us. Thanks, Uden, for joining us today. So we are talking about Phygital, and I want to start with an anecdote, with a personal anecdote, right? So it was last month that me and my wife went shopping, right? I know it's not a BFSI industry example, but it is something related to Phygital. So me and my wife went shopping. We, got some stuff, and there was a offer, X amount of discount that you can avail. The obvious question that I asked was that I'm not going to visit your store within that time period. So is it possible that I can redeem this online, right? For me, if the brand would have said yes, that would have been a Phygital, a right Phygital experience for me, right? But the answer from the brand was no, and then the voucher just went unredeemed. But let's first understand and start by understanding what Phygital means for different brands. For them, the brand in question, that might not be, what they meant by Phygital. But for me as a consumer, that was a Phygital. That would have been a Phygital experience. I'll start with you then. What, according to you, and especially for your brand, what does Phygital experience stands like?
Before I get into the Phygital experience, I'm sure everybody in this room, right? When was the last time you visited a branch, your bank? I'm sure it's been ages, right? But if you ask the same question to somebody in a tier 2 or tier 3, they would say probably twice or maybe thrice. So this whole, because at the end of the day, the branch is the face of the bank. And till the time that physical, brick and mortar is not available, the trust is not going to be there in terms of customers. But there is also this whole aspect of, the entire thing turning into digital, right? So I think for me, it's not about, giving the Phygital experience. It's about what the customer wants, right? I would want to probably go to the branch and probably open a saving account. I might, do a digital saving account, depending on my digital capability. So for me, it's not about this whole world about getting digital and, getting all the worlds together. But it's just a choice that you give it to a customer. So that's what I feel.
Interesting that you mentioned about the two worlds, like the Bharat and the tier 2. And I come from a small town in Assam.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, same. I come from Kalimpong, which is a very small town.
Right. So I have seen my parents, right, and there is a huge difference in user behavior here.
Right.
Right. I never go to a bank branch because I don't need to. I have all the services in my phone. On the contrary, my parents don't have any service. So they blame the banks because they said that, these services are available only for you guys who are in tier 1 and tier, the metros. But in our cities, these services might not be available. So we have to invariably go to a bank. So what is the scenario from that point? Is it like the services are not there because the consumer doesn't need it? Or is it like, the consumer really doesn't need those services there?
No, I think it's familiarity and trust. Like whenever I go back home, right, the first thing my mom will say, the top of the list would be, take my passbook, go and do the entire, just get the thing done. I mean, I would never even think about getting my passport book and going and updating. But for them, it is not just about, going to the branch and doing this this chore, right? It is also about going, meeting the branch manager. You know, like the generation is completely different. Like if I tell a Gen Z to do that, they'll say like, they'll laugh at my face, right? Like, what do you mean, updating passbook? It's like it's something very unknown to them.
By the way, the branch manager of my family bank, I mean, my father's bank was a friend to my father. He became friends because my father used to often, visit. I'll come to you, Prasad. So, what does it mean to to create phygital experiences for your consumers, specifically your brand consumers?
So, from life insurance perspective, when we talk about this entire experience of physical and digital, there are two parts to it, correct? We all started with the physical kind of a thing. And life insurance traditionally is not an aspirational product. Right? You do not look at life insurance. You don't get up in the morning and say, today I'm going to purchase life insurance. Right? It is predominantly a push product which takes some time for customer to consider and then finally purchase. Right? It takes some push from the bank RM, or it takes some push from the life insurance advisor or agent, or somebody who is talking to the customer. So physical and digital, they started as two separate journeys in life insurance, always. And there was no connection between the two for a long period of time. But slowly what happened, the digitalization happened in physical world. All the processes, systems, technology, what we use got completely digitalized. And as a result, physical world got into digital. And same thing happened with the digital business world, where what exactly was the starting point was doing something with the help of digital marketing, getting customer onto the website, having a purchase journey, to finally convincing the customer to purchase the product online. That entire process moved into physical. Now, why that happened? Because a lot of customers need assurance. It's not that life insurance is a over-the-counter product where I can just come to the website, purchase it, and get it fulfilled immediately. It requires documentation. It requires the medicals, physical medicals, or it requires the video MERs. So that entire world of digital alone started realizing soon that customers need to do physical medicals, customers needs to submit certain documents, and they've gone into some amount of physical part of it. They also realize that customers are not purchasing on their own DIY, they are doing it with some kind of assistance from the contact center agent. So that's where the physical and digital world started coming in. And today, if I look at it, the life insurance industry, they are completely integrated and thinking about building something which is omnichannel. Because that's where the customer experience truly comes into the picture. Not just physical, not just digital, not phygital, but omnichannel. And that's where the entire effort of life insurance industry today to make it true omnichannel.
It's interesting that you mentioned about the changes specifically in the life insurance sector. It leads me to my next question to you is, who is driving the change? Is it the consumer who is driving the change? Obviously, it's the consumer who is driving the change. The point about this question is because a lot of people that I have spoken to, they have said that, it's basically COVID which led people to change or ask for a change from the brand that they are using, right? So what has been these 2-3 major changes that you see in customer behavior, especially in your industry and specifically in your brand, in the last 2-3 years that has really led to digital becoming, omnichannel in that sense?
So a couple of things, and obviously every single change what we do is from the customer perspective only. What we are seeing as a consumer trend is when it comes to all the service-related queries, be it checking the NAV of the ULIP policy or getting some address changed and all those things, all those interactions have moved to digital. So today, more than 75% of all the customer interactions what we do or the customer queries which come, they are coming through a medium like WhatsApp bot. And that's where most of them are getting that query or their need serviced. That's how the situation is. Even the contact center, which was the main fray before that, has lost the charm, and it is more of a do-it-yourself kind of a customer service where the entire movement has happened. When I talk about purchasing a new life insurance product, the trend which has gone up, in fact, it's not a COVID-related change, because during COVID, what happened, the fear was in the consumer's mind, because they were seeing those deaths around, there was uncertainty, And that time, obviously, the need for life insurance has significantly gone up. But the moment COVID waves goes down, we also realized that the life insurance searches are also going down. So that was more about the instance which was happening at that point of time. But one thing which has changed significantly in consumers' life in that particular period is they are now researching online, and when it comes to purchasing the product, they have the option. So today, whatever digital marketing spend I do and whatever leads we generate out of it, whatever we convert from those leads, 50% gets converted online through DIY, 50% is happening through other channels what we have. So that's how the consumer preferences are getting evolved. From them, they can check the things online on their own. They'll also have a conversation with that contact center person who's explaining them the product. And then they decide, okay, I'll go to my bank RM and purchase the product. Or they'll decide I'll go to my family friend who's also a life insurance agent and purchase the product. So that particular trend change has predominantly happened when it comes to consumers. And it is again more from the transaction side. They are with digital. And when it comes to discussion, interaction side, they are still physical. That's where they require that some amount of reassurance while purchasing the product. They basically look for the human touch.
Interesting that you mentioned about human touch, because that we understood the point about human touch, the importance of it in the life insurance sector, because that's a life and death kind of a situation. Uden, I'll come to you again and basically try and understand how to define the moments, right? Where from a Ujjivan small finance bank perspective, and you service a wide array of clients from tier 1 to the Bharats and all that, right? So how do you define the moments? When do you need to be human-led vis-a-vis completely online?
Let me give you an example, especially for our microfinance customers, right? For them, loan repayment, right? Monthly, that has to happen every month. And because of that, see, at the end of the day, we also don't want a lot of, the bank to be crowded and like things like that. I mean, just for a loan repayment, you don't have to come to the branch. So we launched something called the Hello Ujjivan app. So it is, just to give you the context. So microfinance customers, they probably have one smartphone in one family. So everybody's using the same smartphone, right? But somehow there is access to a smartphone. So we have actually launched an app called Hello Ujjivan. It's a voice vernacular app. So, and it's all, machine learning and things like that, because there's a lot of dialects and all that, right? So a person can actually download the app and they can do the loan repayment. So the person doesn't have to read and write, because there's a voice that's guiding the entire thing. There is dialects. In that dialect, the voice will be modulated. So somehow we'll have to also think about this, like what you rightly mentioned, this whole human touch, right? Where the person feels that, okay, there is a human, led kind of technology, but it is also making my life simple. So that is the balance that we need to create. Because, see, people like you and me, we don't need to go to the branch. We don't need that kind of assurance. We don't need empathy. We don't need all that. Because for us, it's just basic transaction. We want to open a saving account, we'll open it. We want to, debit something, and all that will happen. But at that level, the human connection and that empathy is much more required, right? I mean, we don't need it at the metro level. But yes, when you go to deeper India, the hinterland, there, it's very, very important to have that human connection.
Interesting. I mean, interesting perspectives from both. So if we can take a step back and look at the overall BFSI industry, right? And we're talking about human touch vis-a-vis, tech implement. So where do you see, how much should be automated vis-a-vis how long the human touch should be there? Because at the end of the day, and all throughout the day, we have been hearing stories around creating trust, stories around how to make the consumer believe in the brand, relationship with the brand, and all that. Trust, relationship, all these things come obviously when there is a human interaction in place, right? So yeah, how much should be automated vis-a-vis how much should be left on the human?
as I said earlier also, it completely depends on your customer, where they are from, where they belong from, how like technical savvy they are, how digital savvy they are. I think that completely depends on the customer. See, like, for example, like a home loan product, right? I mean, you cannot automate the entire thing, and you can, obviously you can. But at the end of the day, you need that human intervention. You need the person going to your place, like, filling the documents. Even for us, like people like us, because there's so much of documents to be filled, one after another, right? So I think products which are a little complicated, like a home loan, I think there you need to have both. You need to have the digital aspect also, but you need to also have that person going and talking and, ensuring that everything is happening. It's going fine. But for example, like a saving account, like a digital saving account, you don't need to like have that human. So it depends product to product. That's what I say. And also the customer to customer. I think these two are very important to understand.
Prasad, in your industry, and especially, I mean, we are taking a look at the entire BFSI sector, but when we talk about the insurance sector, is it difference from insurance to insurance? Like, when you look at life insurance vis-a-vis term insurance vis-a-vis other sort of insurance?
Yeah, so when we talk about this entire digital aspect of it, we look at it whether it's a task or it's a trust. If it's a task, there is some interaction, some activity, which I can do digitally, I'll definitely do it digitally because it's a convenient thing to do. So if I talk about the entire journey of life insurance, how it works that you need to do certain checks as a part of the journey. You have to check the liveliness of the consumer because I'm not checking each and every customer for medical. For a term insurance, definitely a physical medical will happen, but for rest of the insurance products, which are savings and investment product or ULIP products, I might not do a physical medical for those set of customers. So if the demand is, I need to check the liveliness of the customer, the best option is to do it digitally. It's a task. I need not do some emotional activity as a part of it. So I should definitely do it digitally. Second thing, if there is any, even if there is any medical examination requirement, can I do it over a video call? A doctor talking to the customer, doing that entire process over a video call, I'll definitely do that because that adds to that kind of a convenience to the customer. So anything which is task-oriented interaction, I'll definitely ensure that it is happening digitally. And customers' openness to adopt to such kind of digital interventions is far higher. So I'll definitely do that. But when it comes to the trust aspect of it, now trust at a time of purchasing the product, which is all about, am I selecting the right product? Am I selecting the right product tenure? Am I selecting the right sum assured? That entire aspect is, because life insurance contracts are not short-term contracts. They are like running into 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Customers have that concern that am I doing something wrong? Am I taking a wrong decision because that is going to haunt me for another 30, 40 good years? They want some reassurance. They'll definitely go for the trust aspect of it. And the second important thing in trust is the claim process, because that's where the moment of truth when it comes to a life insurance industry. Now, in a term insurance, when there's a death happened and nominee is putting a claim, now that is the process we should not do digital and automated. Because that's the time when that nominee is not just in the need for that financial money, they are also going through a phase of life. They have lost somebody near and dear. So that's a time of empathy. That's where the human touch becomes far more important, and that helps brand to build that trust with the consumers. And the third important thing, what we normally consider from the life insurance industry perspective is, how do I manage the exceptions? Because digital is fantastic till the time there is a process, set process, and it is going through smoothly. If there's any exception, you might also experience it with major other processes. Let's take the example of maybe a cab hailing service. If everything is going smooth, that is perfectly fine. You will ask them something, they will respond on the chat, you're okay with it. But let's assume there is some problem with the cab, or the cab driver is not good, or you have met with an accident, and now you're expected to interact over a chat. That will create a lot of challenges when it comes to the customer experience. So such kind of exceptions should be always treated with some amount of human touch to build a better empathy with the customers. So that's how we are connecting in life insurance industry, whether it's a task or it's a trust.
Interesting. It's quite similar, right? I mean, in both your answers, the keyword was empathy. So wherever it is needed, the human touch is obviously has to be there. The rest can still work on a phygital model. So I'll come to the last phase. We are just running. I mean, running close to the end of the session. So you both are marketeers here, right? And obviously, for marketeers, measurement is the key thing, right? You guys look at performance. How would you measure the effectiveness of an omnichannel strategy vis-a-vis human-led traditional strategy? Will it still be conversion as the main KPI, or there are other KPIs that can be regulated?
So how I look at it, finally, whatever we do, whether we do physical, digital, phygital, omni-channel, the most important thing is the customer experience. So when it comes to tracking, apart from the final convergence, what we are doing, we also look at the customer NPS or the CSAT against each and every process, whether it is TNPS, RNPS, depending on that. But that is the most important thing when it comes to customer experience. That during every single transaction customer is doing with me, whether physical or digital, what customers experience, that becomes paramount. And if that is managed, that is taken care of, then rest of the KPIs are generally managed. You do not face challenges with rest of the KPIs. That's how we look at it.
Interesting. For you, Uden?
There would be obviously like like a motive, right, to get people into digital, right? At the end of the day, that's what we want. Yeah, so this whole thing about, digital adoption, like I gave you example of Hello Ujjivan, like how many people have stopped paying loan physically at the branches and how many are doing it through Hello Ujjivan. So those kinds of KPIs is something that we can actually check if, the products or your promotions are actually working or not working. Other than that, I don't think so we have any specific, right, like a KPI to actually measure. Like if everything's working. Yeah, customer retention is like the best thing to measure. That's the only way.
Interesting. So we're discussing about something which is very kind of new. It is still being explored, and there are every day there are new developments to it, right? Before I close, right, for young marketers over here, if there is one piece of advice from you guys, one mistake that they need to avoid while implementing omnichannel slash phygital, slash digital and human touch, activity for their brand. One mistake that they should really look out for and really avoid.
I would say that whenever customers are changing or showing any change in the trend, I think experimenting early will make a lot of sense, because what we have seen that it's very difficult nowadays to replicate what has worked for somebody else. Because what has worked for somebody else seldom works for you. The customers, though they are same, the way they react to the brand's initiative, they change a lot. And so you experiment on your own regularly, early, check the customer feedback, and then accordingly make a road for the further experimentation. That's the one thing I would say we should definitely do.
Uden, your
For me, yes, this whole thing about one size fits all, I think that is something that we should avoid. Because living in Bombay itself, like there are so many areas. Like everybody comes from very, very different places, and they have very different upbringing, very different requirements. So it's always better to have something very generic, something that is, like everybody would understand and would go with that process or things like that. And the only thing is, don't make it complicated. Anyway, banking is considered to be too serious by everyone. Don't make it serious. Make it fun. I think that's what I advise on that.
interesting. Well, on that note, I would want to close this panel. I'm sorry we have run out of time. I can't take questions, but the speakers would be around, so you can obviously network. Before I close, like one last thing about this omnichannel, business. I know there are a lot of questions, and there are a lot of questions unanswered on this subject. But the last thing that Uden said, to keep it simple and understand the needs of the consumer and then react, is something that I think came out to be one of the key learnings from this session. Well, on that note, you have been a kind audience, and thank you, Uden and Prasad, for joining us today. Thank you.